Delta Airlines. Almost 100 years old, can you believe it? But we're not here for a history lesson today.
Right.
We're diving deep into their Q3 2024 earnings call, hot off the press, to really see what's going on in the airline industry these days. We've got the CEO, Ed Bastian, the president, Glenn Hohenstein, and CFO, Dan Janke. They're all laying out Delta's strategy. So
Yeah.
it's like we're right there in the boardroom with them.
Absolutely.
So Delta reported a pre-tax income of $1.3 billion this quarter.
Wow.
They hit their targets, and they're looking at record profit sharing for employees. Not bad at all, especially with, well, hurricane season and the election kind of throwing some curveballs their way.
It's impressive, yeah. It really is. But it's not by chance. Delta's been playing the long game here, investing a lot in customer experience for over a decade. Think about those new Delta One lounges.
Oh, yeah.
With the dedicated check-in and the private TSA lines.
I've heard those lounges are amazing. So are these premium perks just a way to attract, the wealthy travelers, or is there a bigger strategy at play here?
It's definitely about attracting a certain type of flyer, one who, values comfort and convenience and is willing to pay a premium for it. Delta's betting that by offering this top-notch experience, they can secure a more lucrative slice of the market, even if it means some budget-conscious travelers will opt for other airlines.
Okay.
This is what we call building a moat, creating a competitive advantage that's difficult for others to replicate.
Makes sense. They're creating that luxurious experience that you just can't get everywhere. But even with all those luxurious touches, they still face some headwinds this quarter, right?
Absolutely. Hurricane Helene caused some disruptions. And remember that CrowdStrike outage that really threw a wrench in their tech systems?
Oh, yeah.
Those had a financial impact, of course. But the data reveals an even more intriguing factor, the upcoming election.
Lovely. The election affects air travel.
It does.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so Delta's data shows a consistent dip in domestic and short-haul travel in the weeks, surrounding an election. People are glued to their screens, not their boarding passes.
That's fascinating. It makes you wonder how airlines factor those predictable lulls into their planning.
Exactly. And this information is gold for investors too, by the way, because it means you have to look beyond just the November numbers because they don't tell the whole story.
Okay, so we've covered the challenges, but what about Delta's plans for the future? Their roadmap for navigating the ever-changing skies of the airline industry.
Well, they were a bit tight-lipped on some specifics, but they did drop some hints about their revenue projections, plans for adjusting flight capacity, and a particular focus on their Atlanta hub.
Atlanta?
Yeah.
Why the emphasis on Atlanta? It's not exactly known for its beaches.
That's where it gets interesting. They're implementing a strategy with larger aircraft and optimized schedules in Atlanta that, while seemingly minor, will create this ripple effect of efficiency throughout their entire system.
So it's like a domino effect, boosting efficiency throughout their network.
Precisely. And this allows them to be more competitive in those high-stakes coastal markets, utilizing smaller planes for regional routes that feed into their Atlanta hub. It's a clever strategy, really.
It's like they're playing 3D chess with airplanes.
Yeah.
Speaking of competition,
Yeah.
how are those low-cost carriers factoring into Delta's strategy? We've seen some of them cutting back on flights lately.
That's right. And those capacity cuts are actually creating some breathing room for legacy airlines like Delta.
Okay.
When there's fewer seats in the sky, airlines can often command higher ticket prices.
Right.
This is particularly good news for Delta, who has been strategically focusing on their premium cabin experience where profit margins tend to be higher.
So fewer budget flights could actually mean more room for Delta to grow its premium market. That's counterintuitive, but it makes sense.
It does. Of course, we have to be cautious because, the airline industry is constantly in flux. But this trend, coupled with Delta's other strategic moves, paints a cautiously optimistic picture.
They seem to be playing their cards right.
Okay, so we've got Delta making some savvy moves, but they're also dropping hints about even bigger things to come, right? Something about an investor day.
Yes. This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
While they remained strategically vague on the details,
Right.
Delta did emphasize that their upcoming investor day would reveal more about their future plans. They hinted at some major announcements, especially regarding their long-term investment strategies.
That's exciting. It sounds like they're confident they can stay ahead of the curve. But What exactly does it mean for Delta to be playing the long game in an industry as unpredictable as air travel? What are they investing in?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
While they didn't lay all their cards on the table during the earnings call, they did allude to significant investments in technology.
Think AI-powered customer service, predictive maintenance tools to minimize delays, and even dynamic pricing models that react to market demand in real time. These aren't just like flashy upgrades, they're about building a more resilient and adaptable airline for the future.
So it's not just about fancy lounges and bigger planes. It's about using technology to improve efficiency, customer experience, and ultimately their bottom line.
Exactly. Delta seems to understand that the future of air travel will be shaped by those who can leverage technology to enhance every aspect of the passenger journey.
This earnings call is a goldmine of information.
Right.
We've got strategic investments, a focus on premium experiences, and hints at game-changing technology. For our listener who might be dashing to catch a flight right now, what are the top 3 takeaways they absolutely cannot miss?
Yeah, you're right. There is a lot to unpack here. But if I had to narrow it down to 3 vital points, for our listener on the go,
Yeah.
it'd be these. First, Delta is playing the long game. They're not just focused on next quarter's profits.
Right.
They're building a foundation for sustained success in a rapidly evolving industry.
So it's about more than just staying afloat. It's about soaring ahead of the competition.
Exactly. And that leads us to the second key takeaway. The airline industry as a whole seems to be, stabilizing.
Okay.
Those capacity cuts we talked about,
Yeah.
while they might seem counterintuitive,
Right.
are actually fostering a healthier balance between supply and demand.
Okay.
This means airlines are less likely to be caught in a race to the bottom with bargain basement fares,
Right.
which is particularly beneficial for those like Delta who are focusing on a premium, experience-driven model.
It's like they're saying, we're not just flying planes, we're crafting journeys.
That's a great way to put it. And finally, the third takeaway, and perhaps the most tantalizing,
Yeah.
is the anticipation surrounding Delta's upcoming Investor Day.
Okay.
While they were careful not to reveal too much during the earnings call, the hints they dropped suggest some major announcements are on the horizon, particularly regarding, their long-term investment strategies.
Mark your calendars, folks. It
Yeah.
sounds like Delta has some big plans in store.
They do. And one last intriguing detail to leave you with is Delta's ambition to regain their cash taxpayer status.
Okay.
This means they are aiming to be in such a strong financial position that they will be paying significant taxes again.
Wow.
A powerful signal to investors about their confidence in their future profitability.
That speaks volumes about their belief in their long-term strategy. All right, listeners, a massive thank you to our expert for navigating us through the intricacies of this earnings call. We've covered everything from premium lounges to capacity cuts to the strategic significance of Atlanta.
My pleasure. Always happy to, delve into the fascinating world of aviation finance.
And for those of you who want to go even deeper, you can find the full transcript of Delta's earnings call linked in our show notes. But before you go, here's a final thought to consider. Delta's betting big on technology, not just for operational efficiency, but also to, personalize and enhance the passenger experience. What does this tell us about the future of air travel? And how might this impact your own travel choices in the years to come? Something to ponder. Until next time, this is your captain speaking, wishing you clear skies and happy travels.